When you're a young watch reviewer, it's a really big deal to finally get your first watch lent into the channel by a brand. And for me, that brand was today's brand. It was 2 years ago. It was arranged by Jamie at Mad Rock Watches and Adventure, and the brand was Octon Watches. And it was so exciting for me to finally have a brand trust me with one of their watches. And I was actually pretty surprised by how great this watch was because I really hadn't heard of this brand before. I remember they enjoyed the review. Hopefully over the past 2 years, they've gotten a little better. They did take a little issue, I remember, with calling a Milgauss seconds hand a Harry Potter seconds hand, but you know, I was new to watches, so who knew? Well, it's been 2 years, so why don't we see if this watch from Octon Watches is any good? Well, hi everybody, welcome back to the channel. My name is Alton. If you like what you see here, please feel free to like and subscribe. I will not stop you. Today we have an offering from Octon Watches. Octon Watches is out of Stockholm, Sweden, and here we have our Havsornen in moss green. Now this is an automatic watch with an NH35A. It's a no date diver, 300 meters of water resistance. In this slim watch, I think that's pretty darn good. Why don't we take a closer look at that dial? While they do have other colorways, I'm pretty happy to get this moss green dial in the Havsornen. It's a really great combo with that old radium style lume look to it. It's just a really striking combo with the black Octon there, all of the indices outlined in black, and just a hint of red at the bottom with the name of the watch on it. The bezel is a matte black DLC coated. All of those markers on the bezel are lumed. From the 1 to the 20, you've got your markers for diving, and the rest of it is left blank. Everything is clear, everything is legible, and with that slightly domed sapphire crystal, everything has just a little hint of distortion, but not in a way that's in any way impeding your ability to read this watch, even underwater. Just enough to remind you that this watch has a little bit of depth and complexity to it. Particularly enjoy that the hands are outlined in black. It really pops around that moss green dial as they circumnavigate that dial. That seconds hand with a squared off lollipop hand is pretty awesome. I just really enjoy their choices in colors on this watch. The crown is nice and big. It's got lots of grip to it. It is easy to unscrew even with gloves on. Why do I wear the gloves? Am I pretentious? Yes, I am pretentious, but that's not why I wear them. I wear them to keep the fingerprints at bay. Being an NH35A, you can, of course, wind it, you can hack it, you can put it to 1010, and this thing screws down with absolutely no difficulty. This has a really nice case on it. It curves down significantly like a seagull's wings in a child's drawing. I think it looks really great, and it wears on wrist, consequently, really well as well. It's 13 meters thick, which is thick for a dress watch, but not thick for a 300-meter dive watch, and I'm pretty impressed with what they have done here. The bezel action is good, not the best I've seen. It can be knocked fairly easily with just a little bit of backplay. Now, it almost looks like the markers aren't lined up, but that is a bit of a trick from that domed sapphire crystal. When you look at different angles, you can see that the markers actually do line up perfectly all around that dial. And speaking of that domed sapphire crystal, it does have AR coating on it, and that means that when you take it outside, you can read it really easily. The case back is pretty cool. It's got that Octon octopus on it, and I think it looks really neat. And the bracelet is nice and chunky. It's got a lot of heft to it, male and link, so do be aware of that, but it really curves down significantly, so it should not be a problem on a smaller wrist. And this is a 40mm dive watch, and so this should fit a lot of wrists quite well. Checking out the clasp, it's a simple flip lock, easy to open. We've got a nice looking milled clasp underneath, and you've got 1, 2, 3, 4 micro adjusts to get that perfect fit. And the lume on this watch is pretty decent. It actually glows fairly brightly, especially when you have this style of lume. It doesn't always work out that way, but in this one it works really well, and it lasts for a pretty good length of time. Well, what are my picks and nitpicks? There's not a whole lot of bad things about this watch, but let's talk about the picks. I like the colorway on this. I like the hands and the colors chosen for it. I like the size of the watch itself and how it wears on wrist. There's just a whole lot of good stuff to say about this watch, including the shape of the case, 300 meters of water resistance, and that beautiful, easy to use crown. I also really like this case that it comes in. It's a pretty rugged, awesome case, and when you open it up, it comes with another strap. This is a nice looking rubber strap with a bit of texture to it and white stitching. Throw that thing on, and you could also wear that in the water as well. So between the watch and this awesome case, the extra strap, it's a pretty great looking watch. Well, no watch is perfect, so what are my nitpicks with the Havsornen in moss green by Octon Watches? I really don't have a lot of bad to say about this watch. I guess, as you know, if you're a fan of this channel, I'm not a huge fan of the NH35A movement. I do prefer the Highbeat Miyota 9000 series, but you know what? I know that people love this movement, so I think it's probably a great choice. The price is $349 on bracelet. You can knock $40 or so off if you don't get it on bracelet, though I do recommend the bracelet. I really don't know what bad to say about this watch. It's priced really well. It's made really well. Octon Watches, to me, is just a really underrated brand. Well, I'd like to thank Octon Watches for loaning this in, and Jamie at Mad Rock Watches and Adventure for organizing it. Hey, give him a follow. He's got a great shed watch channel, and I'd like to thank all of you for watching. If you feel like it, please like and subscribe. It really does go a long way to propping up my very fragile ego.